Hi, everyone. Today is a special 111 portal, as I'm sure there are thousands of people on the internet talking about it. I personally know and understand that angel numbers are very much a way that spirit communicates with us, um, in a uncontrived, undemanded sort of way. Meaning that what they always share with me is that when all we are doing is kind of using our own energy to force messages, to force meaning into things, um, we can be misguiding ourselves. And also, it's very real to say that when we are focusing on something, when we are using our own thoughts and creating beliefs or deepening beliefs or engaging, kind of turning on or activating a belief in us, it does change our energy so that we can experience these things. So, what's really interesting is that, I thought that I was going to need to take a minute and kind of center myself before I started channeling, and yet they jumped right into this straight away. So it's interesting that what they want to talk about is is this idea around people attaching themselves to the energies of things, these beliefs, these sort of superstitions in things. And so they also say there's always so much duality is not the right word, but it's more like binary maybe is the right word that they talk about in sort of these spiritual laws and spiritual beliefs. And the 111 principle, this 111 portal that people talk about, is one of these. It's like a good example of this, right? So it goes back to what I was just sharing and saying with you, in that there is not always an actual overarching energy to like these dates that everyone talks about, right? Like the 8-8 gate, or today's 111 or 12-12 or whatever, these different 11-11, right? There's all these different things that they say, like, cosmically, astrologically, energetically, there may not actually be anything sort of special going on in that day just because it's that number. However, what's interesting is that because we associate or engage or call in a certain energy around these things, then our own ability to believe, and again, I hesitate because the way that they give me the feeling doesn't have words, so I'm kind of trying to translate it, and there's a bit of a disconnect because sometimes we want to believe in things. We want to believe in these special energies. We want to believe they're saying all the things, all the special energies, special rituals and ceremonies. And yet there's a subconscious underlying fear or doubt in us that is actually inhibiting those things from manifesting and showing up. And so they want you to understand that sometimes our belief in separation, sometimes our belief in doubt, in fear, in that life is hard, that life is not in your favor, that divine reasoning overrules your ability to create, to co create, to choose, is stronger than, I was going to say undermine. And they were like, no, that's not the word they wanted me to use. They're saying sometimes that undercurrent becomes stronger than the emotional conviction that we have towards the positive things, towards the days with special energetic supportive meanings or being portals to getting us into our desires, or like I said, ceremonies and rituals and these things. They're saying even the power of prayer for healing. Oh, this is interesting. And I realize that maybe the way that I'm speaking is a little bit disjointed. It's because I'm trying to put the right words to the energies that they're making me feel. Sometimes they come through for me, just to kind of take a beat and explain. Sometimes they come through for me in such a way that it's like full thoughts and complete sentences, and it's more like reading a book, almost like. And I've talked about this before, because that's what engaging with spirit and also the energies of crossed over loved ones, that's what it feels like to me a lot of the time, that it's like kind of like reading a book. But today, for whatever reason, it's more of an impression, and I'm sure this has to do with my own work and my own focus on digging into what it means to follow your heart and lead with your heart in a Christ consciousness kind of understanding way, because that's kind of where I am in my personal and spiritual growth right now. Um, as opposed to sort of the arbitrary follow your heart cliche kind of way that there's a certain modern attachment to, and there's a difference there, but this is not the time to discuss that. um they're they're saying even the way that we use prayer, this is why prayer at times can completely heal someone. This is the They're saying this is the reason why, even maybe more importantly, it's important for you to know and understand that sort of these evangelical experiences, which are not good or bad. Spirit, God, the universe, has no judgment or criticism against them, nor do I personally. But um obviously it's not for everyone, and certainly preaching hell and brimstone and judgment, and that this is bad things are happening to you out of punishment, or that you need to have demons or evil spirits cast out of you because of punishment is not the truth of spirit, Jesus, the Bible. Um, that is not a true interpretation. That is not real spiritual law. So those versions are not something that I nor spirit is condoning. However, what they're saying is that they're actually saying to me too a couple things here. Hopefully we can get back to all of them without making this too long. Um, so what they're saying is the reason why people have these sort of, the laying of the hands, right? Why the person in, I don't know that they actually do that. They probably do still do this anymore. But, like the evangelical, this is just what they're showing me. The evangelical, the tents where like people from all four counties show up to get healed of things or have demons cast out of them or addictions or whatever, right? The reason why that works is because the energetic culmination of everyone believing in that is so cumulatively high that it shifts matter. It shifts the energy in your cells, in your body, in your psyche, in your brain, and it works. And oftentimes people, this is like they're saying to me, it's the whole why snake oils used to work, right? This is why all things that are sort of manipulative and con artisty, this is why I'm sure this isn't going to be super positive, but this is why Tony Robbins had his own level of success, continues to, is people put their faith and power and belief into someone else being more all knowing, being the one that has the answers, being the one that has the power to be able to heal, create change, reprogram your mind, is going to give you the answers that are going to shift everything for you. It's actually that subconscious belief in those things. They're saying this is why places of miracles are abundant in miracles, because people believe more deeply in the healing waters, in the sanctuary, in the energy of the place, the presence, a bigger presence of God, spirit, saints, angels, whatever, in that particular place or relic or whatever, than they do in their own power, in their own sovereignty, in their own ability to create. When people sometimes find themselves in a crisis situation, in chaos, in a place where they are dropped to their knees, begging in prayer, there becomes such a, well, there's going to be two things. One is that there is this incredible surrendering of the resistance of the things in our mind that create limitation and keep us stuck. The linear, pragmatic, practical thinking, which does not allow, that is creating so much constriction and resistance. It's creating the limitation. There's such a dropping of that sometimes when we go deep into crisis, into an emergency state, into they just want to keep using the word crisis, whether that's internal or external, that it forces the person, and obviously there is a certain amount of choice that's always happening there, but for a lot of people, you get into that space of such extreme duress, of such extreme uncertainty and not knowing what else to do, that you will drop the holding on of that I can figure this out. There must be a way that I will be able to manage and manipulate and get myself out of this. And it doesn't allow for a new energy or for their help, for new ideas, a new perspective, for an openness of let things can just turn for you and be happening until you're in that space of crisis, and and then you are in such despair and kind of in such a desperate state that you release the limitations that your your human mind, your brain, and sometimes your ego are putting on the situation. I hope that makes sense. So they're saying this kind of brings back to that this other thing that they wanted to talk about with the evangelical gatherings, and saying that they wanted to address why they work, and also they want to address this concept. And I feel like I brought this up maybe in the video I did about the spiritual pilgrimage I'm leading at the end in September of 2026. Um and this will definitely be something that you see more intentionally in my work because they keep giving it to me and they're bringing it up now. So I'm going to share it now. And I understand that there's going to be maybe some resistance for some people that listen to this. And then that's okay. If you can't agree and you think I've got it totally wrong, and then it's not for you, and that's totally fine. But they're saying to me that, and they said, this is not the first time, but they're bringing it up now, that this idea of demons and sin being in us, being projected onto us, being something that we have to be fearful of, or that we have to know that we are kind of infested with, or that we have to overcome all the time. I think maybe in another message from spirit, they had me bring up about like that sin does not exist the way that we have been taught, the way that religions and the church have impressed upon us, beat into us, sometimes literally, this idea that we are all sinful, that we all sin, that sin is bad, it creates separation. Spirit says this idea of demons and sins, and there are negative entities and energies as I believe it and understand it. So I don't want to take away from that, but I want to talk about the kind of commonplace idea that people battle their demons and that they struggle with the temptation of sin. These are the words they're giving me. They're saying it's all made up. It's all contrived. It was all misconstrued because the only demon or sin that we have is the programmings, the egoic and human beliefs that create separation, that cause us to limit our own abilities and our own ability to see us as a divine creation with all of the power of our own sovereignty. And so, yes, that might look like addiction for some people. Yes, that might look like some people's greed, or um you know lust, right? Like thinking of the seven sins. But the reality is that they are not afflictions that are given to you. that you must overcome. They are not something that was innately born in us, that we are all sinners and need to figure out how to get saved. None of that is true as Spirit is saying it now. These things have been programmed and conditioned to us, but it is a learned behavior. It is learned separation. And as easily as we picked it up, we can release it. This idea that you have to judge yourself, punish yourself, criticize yourself, or even, for heaven's sake, more prominent, that God is doing this to you to help you to overcome it or to punish you in some way, is completely false. And so Spirit is saying there's enough in all of this for y'all to digest and contemplate. And at the end of the day, the message they want to leave you with is that you are inherently good. You are inherently perfect and loved. And you always have complete and total power to create, change, shift, experience whatever you want. And so, if you want January 11th to be a special portal for you, then make it that way. But you also have the power to make January 12th and January 13th and January 14th. You see where I'm going with this? Every one of those days, a special, powerful portal for you, where you put your belief in a higher ratio than the doubt and the fear and the old programming. And they're saying it can just be a difference between 49 one way and 51 the other way. You just need that slight tipping point. But that is where your realignment comes in. That is when you are able to change and create situations that you didn't think were possible, or that you did know, because there's enough talk about it out there that all things are possible. That is not a lie. But the reason why you're not experiencing all things being possible, or total healing, or immediate manifestation of something, is only because your underlying energy is aligned to a doubtful or fearful belief rather than the positive, true belief. So that is your Sunday message on January 11th. I would love it so much if you subscribe so you always know when I have videos. Share this, like it. Come to connect with me at my social media, which is at Siera with one R, intuitively knows, on both Facebook and Instagram. Those are probably the easiest way. But it's all here. I want to hear your questions, your comments. If there's anything you want me to talk about in a different kind of video, a short, I'd love to hear that too. So feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for joining. Happy 111, everyone, and have a great week.